The movie starts with a Chinese chef named Gao. He made delicious food. His restaurant was small, but he kept it very clean. Gao loved cooking, but in the past, something bad happened to him. His father left him with another chef to learn how to cook. Gao dreamed of becoming a great chef. He wanted to achieve what he couldn't do as a child. Gao's father was a famous chef and now a master chef. But Gao didn't like his father because he grew up without him. Even though Gao missed his father didn't know. Gao's father was happy that no one knew he had a son. This made Gao even more sad. The story then introduces Paul, a young, talented, and charming chef. He used to cook for rich families. Paul had a dream of building a restaurant in his country for his father. So, he returned home, leaving behind foreign opportunities. One day, Paul goes to a fish dealer and asks for a big fish. But the dealer refuses because he sells the big fish to Gao. This makes Paul very angry, and he stares at Gao, feeling jealous about why the dealer gave the fish to him. The dealer, seeing both of them angry, decides to split the fish in half to avoid a fight. Even then, Paul and Gao keep glaring at each other with anger. Later, we see Paul's new, amazing restaurant. It's clean, stylish, and well decorated. The grand opening is happening today. Paul's new restaurant is built right across from Gao's restaurant. Gao's friends are worried when they see this. Paul's restaurant was going to attract customers and take them away from Gao's place. This felt like a threat to Gao. Many customers want to try the new restaurant's food. To help Gao, his friends offered discounts, which attracted customers back to his restaurant. Paul's friends got angry about this. They came over and argued with Gao's friends. They said, "What's your problem? Are you afraid to see us do our best?" Both rivals decide to have a cooking competition to see whose food tastes better. They are forced to join the competition even though they don't agree at first. When they look at each other, they remember meeting at the fish market, which makes them prepare for the contest. The table is set with a big fish they both cut. First, Paul cuts the fish and quickly removes the bones. Everyone likes his technique. Then he throws some fish to Gao. Gao also cuts the fish skillfully. When he shows the skin to the others, it means there's a lot of fish meat with it. Everyone praises him. So both chefs receive equal compliments. A chairman is there and tells them about an international chef challenge contest. He says that both of them should participate to prove who is the better chef. Both chefs get ready for the competition. Paul tells people on social media that he used to cook in France and noticed that people in China still use traditional cooking methods. This is a sneaky way of criticizing Gao. Hearing this makes Gao even angrier. Everyone knows that they will face each other in the first round of the competition. If they win, they can reach the final. If not, they still get a chance to meet the master chef, who is Gao's father. Paul's friend invites Gao and his friends to his restaurant for a meal. When they arrive, Paul doesn't serve them. His friend does. The meal is a fried egg and a plant, but it tastes unique. After tasting it, Gao thinks Paul's cooking is very different. Gao rushes to the kitchen and yells angrily, "Paul, what are you trying to prove with your tasty food? That you are the master chef?" Paul stays silent and challenges Gao to a meat cooking contest, asking who can make it taste better. Gao gladly accepts the challenge. Gao cooks the meat skillfully, and it looks very tasty. Paul then says, "I'll show you how to cook this dish using the same method." He quickly cooks the same dish. When Gao smells it, he can't find any difference. He realizes that Paul's cooking method is more advanced. Upset, Gao leaves the kitchen. Someone tells Gao that his father is calling him. He goes to see his father and asks, "Why did you call me? You don't even acknowledge that I'm your son." The master chef replies, "I did this so the world wouldn't know you're my son. That's why you got the chance to join the International Chef Challenge. I want you to succeed on your own." Gao responds, "Father, I don't need your help." Gao tells his father, "You were not with me when I needed you. I will prove that I can do this. You left me for this reason." Upset, Gao leaves because he doesn't trust his father's words. The next day, the International Chef Challenge takes place. Everything is ready, and both Gao and Paul are prepared. The competition starts. Paul is given a sweet dish to make, while Gao cooks a chicken dish. They both work hard on their dishes. Paul finishes his dish before time runs out. Soon after, Gao also completes his delicious dish within the time limit. The judges and spectators are very impressed. When they taste the dishes, both chefs receive the same score. The judges didn't find much difference in the taste of their dishes, meaning both were very tasty. Then one judge came on stage to clear up the confusion. He said, "Both dishes were excellent, but I liked Paul's presentation more." So, Paul won the competition. He was extremely excited. Gao, on the other hand, lost and didn't want to go home feeling sad. Instead, he played video games for several days to keep himself busy. One day, the chef who took care of him when he was a child came to see him. This chef had also been left in charge by Gao's father. He told Gao, "Look, winning and losing are part of life. Just because you didn't win today doesn't mean you won't win tomorrow." But Gao didn't want to go home. After a lot of talking, he finally agreed that he would go home and train for the next competition. Meanwhile, Paul was excited as he went to his restaurant. His friends were sitting with him. They suggested, "Paul, why don't you give your friend a chance? She has been with you for a long time. Trust her. You can let her represent your restaurant in international competitions. She could make your restaurant famous." His friend said. "Yeah, she is my good friend, and I admit that," Paul replied. "But she doesn't know how to cook. How can she represent my restaurant internationally?" Then his friend kept talking. It seemed like he and his friend were planning something, and their feelings were growing stronger. Paul's friend put 2 soup cups in front of him and asked, "Paul, can you tell me which soup has more salt?" Paul didn't answer. He had a problem with tasting food, so he couldn't tell. This made him sad because it was something he couldn't change. Paul's friend betrayed him by teaming up with others. "What's wrong, Paul? Did you think I had feelings for you?" his friend asked. "That was just a misunderstanding. That kind of thing doesn't happen nowadays. I only became your friend so I could use you to enter the international competition. It wasn't easy for me to get in. What did you give me in return for keeping your secret? You didn't offer me anything. But now, I won't stay quiet. I can also join the competition." Another secret was revealed. Paul's friend tricked him by joining forces with someone else. They were planning to sell Paul's restaurant and use the money to start their own lives. But Paul wouldn't let that happen. He felt very sad and hurt. Paul stepped outside his restaurant as night fell. He began to drink alcohol while sitting alone. Gao saw him and approached, saying, "Why do you look so sad? You should be happy because you've won." Paul replied, "Yeah, I won, but I also lost a lot. Anyway, let me tell you a secret. Do you see that poster over there?" He pointed to a poster featuring a photo of Gao's father and the master chef. "He is my ideal. I want to be like him." Gao smiled slightly and said, "Paul, that's my father. You think he's a good man, but I'll tell you he's not kind-hearted." Gao began to share his story. "He left me when I was a child. I held him back from growing. I spent my whole teenage years without him. Don't be sad. What can we do now?" Paul asked. Gao replied, "We can throw bottles." Then they both started throwing empty bottles at the poster. Paul and Gao felt excited, and they became friends in that moment, enjoying their time together. But when Paul returned, he saw his friends trying to negotiate about his restaurant. "What's happening here? How can you do this without my permission?" Paul asked. His friends replied, "Tell us, who will you take to the international cooking competition? You can't cook alone this time. You need a partner. Will you take your friend?" Paul said, "I'm not crazy. I already have a plan for who I will take with me. He is the right person." Paul announced that he would take Gao. His friends were jealous. One of them warned, "Remember, Paul, your career will be ruined." Paul hit him on the head and told them to leave. After they left, Gao's protective chef approached Paul. "Paul, have you really thought about taking Gao with you?" he asked. "Why not?" Paul replied, placing a hand on Gao's shoulder. "He is eligible." Everyone was excited. Now, the preparations for the competition began. Paul and Gao decided that Paul would teach Gao new cooking skills while Gao would teach Paul his traditional methods. "Don't worry if you can't taste," Gao told Paul. "I'll help you get your sense of taste back." He explained how to do it, while Paul shared his new cooking methods. They spent good times together, practicing cooking, singing, dancing, and talking, which helped them develop a close friendship. Finally, the day of the second international competition arrived. They began to cook their dish perfectly and prepared a delicious sweet dish in a short amount of time. The judges loved it, saying they had never tasted anything like it before. They won the competition. It was true what they said, unity is strength. Now, the third international cooking competition was starting, and it would be against the master chef, who was Gao's father. "I think you can win this competition, so you should go," Paul said to Gao. "You are a great chef." Gao replied, "You know the modern methods, so you can cook better than me." Then Paul said, "No, it's not like this. Look, I fulfilled my father's dream by building my restaurant. Now you should fulfill your father's dream. He wanted to see you become a great chef. Cook your meal and confront him. Prove to him that you can be a very great chef." Gao agreed and thanked Paul. The third competition began, and on the other side, the master chef started cooking his dish. Before starting, a flashback played in Gao's mind, reminding him of when his father had left him and how other kids used to threaten him. He got lost in those past memories until his father splashed water on his face and said, "Start your cooking." Gao began to cook. Meanwhile, his father, the master chef, prepared a delicious sweet dish, beautifully presented with fire that created flowers. The judges loved it. When it was Gao's turn to show what he had cooked, he approached his father with a bowl of noodles. The master chef tasted the noodles and loved them. These were the same noodles that had previously caused Gao to be scolded by his father for not being able to cook them. Today, however, Gao made the noodles perfectly, and his father couldn't resist. He began to eat the noodles eagerly, and without control, Gao's father stopped to speak. He said, "Well done, my son. You cooked the noodles perfectly." He became sentimental in that moment. The audience also realized that their family names were the same, and their actions clearly showed that they were father and son. In this moment, Gao's dream was fulfilled, as well as his father's. Meanwhile, at the restaurant, Paul and Gao were working together, and they had more customers than ever before. People praised their food, and the restaurant was buzzing with activity. The movie ended on this joyful scene, showcasing their success and the bond they had formed.